By the time the ceremony started, the seats around hers were already full. Friends from school, an aunt who lived 3 hours away, two neighbors who had known her since she was a child. Someone had brought a bouquet wrapped in paper too thin to hide the water stains. Someone else kept adjusting a handmade sign every time it slipped against the railing. It was warm, loud, earnest. Her parents' seats stayed empty. She noticed them the way you notice a missing tooth with your tongue, absently at first, then repeatedly, with a faint, resigned pressure. Not panic. Not heartbreak. Just recognition. She waited until her name was printed correctly on the program. Until the opening speech finished. Until it felt socially appropriate to try. Then she stepped aside and called. Her mother answered on the second ring, cheerful, breathy, the sound of wind in the background. "Oh, hi! Is everything okay? I just wanted to check where you were," she said. Her voice sounded steady even to herself. There was a pause, the kind that meant her mother was deciding how much explanation was required. "We're on a cruise," her mother said finally, "with your brother. To celebrate his new job. You know how hard this year's been for him." She did know. She always knew. She looked back at the crowd. At the people who had rearranged schedules, taken time off, driven long distances. At the empty space that didn't even pretend to apologize. "Oh," she said. Then, after a beat, she smiled. It was automatic, polite, almost kind. "Okay. Then don't bother showing up to my future either." Silence stretched across the line. Not anger. Confusion. "What do you mean by that?" her mother asked. "I mean I'm done reminding you," she said. "Enjoy the trip." She ended the call before the sentence could be softened into something reversible. When her name was called later, the applause came in uneven waves. She crossed the stage, shook hands, accepted the folder. Cameras flashed. Someone whistled. Someone else yelled her name with too much enthusiasm. She didn't look for her parents. Afterward, there were photos. Lauder. Plans made out loud. She accepted congratulations and hugs, letting the day move forward without negotiating its meaning. That night, when she finally went home, she didn't feel victorious. She felt finished. The box had been mailed months earlier during a quieter moment. No argument. No dramatic fallout. Just a sense that something needed to be placed outside of her. Inside were copies of documents they might one day need, birth certificate, academic records, contact information for her attorney and employer. Practical things. Unsentimental. And a note. She hadn't written it in anger. She'd written it the way people write instructions, clear, specific, dated. It explained what she needed to stay connected. What would happen if she wasn't prioritized? How silence would be interpreted? How access would change? No threats, no pleading. Just conditions. She hadn't followed up. Hadn't asked if they received it. 2 weeks passed after graduation. Then 3. Her phone stayed quiet except for messages from friends and work emails stacking politely in her inbox. Her parents assumed. She later realized that this was temporary, that she would circle back. She always had. The knock on her door came on a Tuesday evening, unannounced. When she opened it, her father stood there, holding the box like it was heavier than it looked. His posture was uncertain, shoulders slightly rounded, eyes scanning her face as if checking for permission to speak. "We got this?" he said. She stepped aside and let him in. They didn't sit. "I don't understand," he said quietly. "Why you didn't tell us?" She didn't argue with the premise. She walked to the kitchen counter, opened the box, and removed the folded paper. "It's in there," she said. "Read it." He hesitated, then unfolded the note. As he read aloud, his voice changed, not cracking, just slowing. The words forced a pace he wasn't used to. Needs stated plainly. Boundaries spelled out without negotiation. When he reached the end, he stopped. "This feels, final," he said. "It's specific," she corrected. He looked up at her. "We didn't think you meant it like this." She nodded. "I know." They stood there in the quiet that followed, not hostile, not tender. Just real. "I'm not cutting you off," she said finally. "But I'm not waiting anymore either." He held the note longer than necessary, as if weight might appear if he concentrated hard enough. "I wish he'd said something sooner," he said. She met his eyes. I did. He left shortly after. No apology, no confrontation, just a subdued nod at the door. In the weeks that followed, the dynamic changed not dramatically, but unmistakably. Invitations arrived as questions, not assumptions. Conversations paused when she didn't respond immediately. Her absence was noticed without being challenged. The relationship didn't improve, but it adjusted. And for the first time, she didn't feel smaller inside it.